Hello gamers, welcome back again in another video on Jesus Gaming and Podcast. This is Jesus, and I know I was long overdue to begin curating on Starfield content as I was promising in my social networks, that by the way includes Mastodon, yes, the Mastodon social or the OG instance, Nostr, Blue Sky, and yes, X. Links to all of them in the description. And what a way to start to actually curating Starfield content with a quick overview of key important events that are described in the game. But after going through the main mission and finding out with this exploration, my purpose in this video is to have you with all the important details that's already Bethesda published as part of the early marketing campaign for Starfield. And the first event, of course, is the genesis of humanity exploring the depths of the universe, as by 2100 or 2100 humans are already living in the space, and it was in 2015 that actually we arrived on Mars. But why? It was explained that planet Earth forced humanity to go for good in the midst of the 2100s after the graph drive technology was discovered. Dr. Victor Isa was the one to make this initial discovery that propelled our species into space to begin colonizing other planets. This came at a cost, however, as by 2115, Earth's government realized that the planet's magnetosphere will collapse in just 15 years as a result of this testing. The planet will become completely uninhabitable, which forced a complete exodus from the planet during those 50 years. By 2203, Earth was reduced to a barren wasteland. Of course, you are able to visit Earth in Starfield and will be required to do so during this story, but not much is left for you to discover except for a few key landmarks. 2156. Humans arrive in Alpha Centauri, 4.37 light years away from Earth. 3 years later, at 2159, the United Colonies are established. A little context. Alpha Centauri is a star system with 4 planets and 8 moons, and the closest star system to Sol. Ironically, Sol is the Spanish for sun. And UC, or the United Colonies, is the first interstellar government to have formed in the settled system. It is a centralized republic and controls the star system Alpha Centauri, Sol, and Wolf. The United Colonies' capital is the city of New Atlantis on planet Jemison, founded in 2116, and it was declared a capital a year later. 2167. Cheyenne is settled by Solomon Coe and found its first settlement, Aquila City, another cluster of humanity that didn't want to settle at New Atlantis, and in 2188, Coe invites Boli, yet another settled system, to join Cheyenne in a new alliance that were known as the Freestar Collective in 2189. 5 years later, in 2194, the United Colonies positioned the star station called the Clinic in orbit around Deepala in the Narian system. The unaffiliated people of the Narian system see this as a United Colonies attempt to expand their borders and demand the UC remove the clinic. When the United Colonies refuses, the people of Narian vote to join the Freestar Collective, who mobilized to protect the system in 2195. A year later, in 2196, in response to Freestar mobilization, the United Colonies moved a fleet into the Narian system, and Freestar respond on its kind. The Narian War begins. In the midst of the war at 2216, the Narian War drags on the public sentiment sours. Finally, the Treaty of Narian is signed by the UC and the Freestar Collective in 2216, ending the conflict. The term settled system is formalized in the treaty. In 2221, the Freestar Rangers are founded as an elite, protective, and investigative force dedicated to serving all citizens of the Freestar Collective. It was then later, at 2275, Constellation is formed by Sebastian Banks. Original members include Claude Bao, accomplished physicist, Aya Mamasa, the youngest member, and Sebastian proteges Darius Andres, botanist and specialist in xenoflora, Bernadette Laurent, a wealthy heiress and adventurer, Everaldo Gil, former smuggler, and Kadri Toma, biologist and physician. The Lodge is built in the New Atlantis to serve the needs of people of Constellation for generations to come. At this part, we are getting closer to the initial step before the story of Starfield, as 2305, Barrett joins the Constellation, and 2 years later, in 2307, the Freestar Collective begins farming on the planet of Vesta in the Lunara system. By 2308, the United Colonies claim that by establishing a colony in the 4-star system, the Freestar Collective has violated the Treaty of Narian. Diplomatic talks break down and the United Colonies lay siege on Vesta, killing anyone who stayed behind or was brought in to defend it. The Colony Wars officially begins. 3 years later, Constellations comes into a possession of the first artifact and tucks it away Constellation archives. In 2311, after several years of conflict, the Colony Wars effectively comes to an end in the Battle of Cheyenne as a flotilla of civilian and military Freestar Collective ships takes down major ships of the United Colonies Navy using a hit-and-run tactics. In 2315, the United Colonies Vanguard is founded as part of the UC response to the Freestar Collective's use of civilian ships during the Colony War. The Vanguard is the UC-owned civilian navy, relying on civilians using their own ships. At 2319, Sarah Morgan becomes the youngest head of the UC Navigator Corps, though it is a short-lived position as the division is shut down in 2320. Cast adrift, but still eager to put her training to good use, Morgan joins Constellation. At 2321, Walter Stroud, co-founder of Stroud Eclons, one of the Settled System premier starship manufacturers, joins Constellation and becomes its primary financial backer. A year later, former Crimson Fleet pilot Vladimir Nizar joins Constellation. At 2325, Sarah Morgan becomes acting chair of Constellation, and in the same year, Teluian Matteo Catri joins Constellation. It will be a year later in 2326, Barrett finds the original artifacts in the Constellation archives and knows it must be special. In 2327 and 2328, we got 3 events, including Freestar Ranger Sam Coe and his daughter Coda join Constellation, Andrea joins the Constellation, and also Barrett convinces Constellation to purchase the star station L868 and modify it to become a deep space scanner nicknamed the Eye. 2 years later, after all this, in 2023, it is your Starfield story that begins, and it is up to you on how the story falls and how it is finished. Well, I hope you enjoyed this first Starfield lore content, giving much of a recap of the game Prologue, including on why the heck Earth is not even our home world in the game. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of gaming, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gaming content and more podcast episodes. Hopefully, I'm working on it in the future. Until next time, keep on gaming and keep those controllers engaged. This was Jesus of Jesus Gaming and Podcast. Health and success. Thank you for the support.